This is Daily Music Tips brought to you by Cape Town Music Academy. Today I'm going to talk to you about the seasons of growth of a musician. One of the most important moments of my life was when I realized how to identify the season I'm in. I feel that life goes through many seasons, and you can either fight it and ignore it, or you can go with the flow. I thought that there are four main seasons that we go through as a musician. The first season would be the season of growth. The second would be the season of creating. The third, the season of rest. And the fourth, the season of fun. I feel that to be a fully rounded and well-developed musician, we all need to go through each season regularly. These seasons are rolling, and you never ever come to a point where you've arrived. I don't believe that any musician feels that they've arrived. I think that there's always things to learn, there's always things to grow on, there's always things to develop, there's always new experience to be had. And all of this ultimately affects not only the way you write, but also the way you play. So obviously the obvious one is growth. We learn, we study, we practice, we read, we watch YouTube videos, we do all sorts of things in order to learn. And this is the obvious one, but it comes more often than we think. And it's really important to identify a growth point, because they don't happen in obvious ways always. Sometimes you join a band, maybe you think that you're better than the guys in the band, or you don't have to practice as much for this music, but there's always something to learn. You can learn something from everyone. And for me, I try and go into every single rehearsal with my ears open first before I really play much. I try and suss it out. And personally, I generally, what I do is I play very little the first rehearsal, the first few times we play stuff, and then I play a lot. I play too much, the second time we get to play through music. And then I find that I found my place within the music generally after one or two times. Obviously, the more you do it, the better you get, but even in that place, learning new music, there's growth within that. You might play or find something that you didn't know before, that you make a mistake and realize, oh, that was cool. And growth is a constant thing, but it is also a trap sometimes, because sometimes we find ourselves scared of leaving the growth area, and then we never really move forward in other areas of our lives and in our music. I guess it's very scary to leave university, or to leave school, or to not have a teacher anymore, or whatever it may be. There's a safe space when someone is looking out for you, someone's looking after you. And it's very easy to get caught up in that space too. And we need to be careful that we're constantly growing, but we also need to know when it's a time to now maybe not practice and move on to creation maybe, or rest. Maybe you've had a really intensive learning process. You've gone through learning a new concept which is completely foreign to you. I remember coming to university for the first time and learning jazz, which I'd never really played properly before. And that was a rough season for me, those first 6 months. I basically just locked myself in my room and practiced all the time, just trying to get the comping patterns going and learning to play through chords and all these things. And that was a big season, and I should have rested after that, and I didn't. And I burnt out eventually, and that's not where you want to be. So rest is a season that we need to acknowledge that, we drive forward and we push, and life sometimes throws its hurdles at you. And sometimes it's just a hurdle you need to push through and work harder at. But other times we also need to know, is it something that's stopping me and trying to point out that I need to take a break? Do I need to just put down my instrument, stop watching the YouTube videos, and just turn off for a few days, a few weeks, whatever it may be, and take the pressure off for a little while? And I know that sometimes rest is pressure too, because we feel like, oh, we're supposed to be practicing and I have so much to learn. But a very important part is to learn to turn off and find that muse. I have a couple of things that I do to turn off. I play games, and I play golf, and I found that those are two effective ways to be completely on the other side of music, not completely non-music related, but allowed me to do something, physical activity, if it's exercising, gym, whatever, something productive but not music related. Because many times the things you practice and the things that you do in your growth period You learn them, but sometimes they take a time to settle inside of you before they come out into your playing. And those rest periods are very, very good for allowing your brain to do its thing, whatever that may be, to kind of piece all these things together. And whatever that rest is for you, it's really important to embrace that season, not to get stressed about not practicing, but to really embrace whether it's a weekend or a day or whatever it may be that allows you to turn off completely from music. It's very important. The next season that we find ourselves in often is creation. And I recently, not recently, my last season has been a long season, but as I was learning and really, really delving into music production and sound engineering, I've been looking at it for a very long time, but I was sharing it with teaching and playing and practicing, and so my days were kind of split. But I spent about a year and a half just working on that and nothing else. And it was a big growth period for me. A lot of reading, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of experimentation, and I had to realize when, okay, I think I've learned enough for now. I haven't learned enough. I still have a lot to grow, but I need to now step into the creation part so that I can put these things to test, that I can grow in that period too, because part of the creation, there will be growth too. And you know, all these seasons that sometimes they happen in groups, but even in each group, even when you're resting, there's growth, and even when you are creating, there's growth, and even when you are resting, you can be creating. You know, there's these things that happen inside of you. Even when you're having fun, you can be resting and growing, and they go all together in one. And but we have to identify them in groups too. We need to know. So I put aside a creation period, and I grew so much in that period. And you know, like I said before, that you can find yourself in that safe space of just learning. No, I need to learn more, and oh, I'm not doing this right. I don't know what I'm doing. Whatever it may be, and whatever you're trying to grow in, you have to step out sometimes. And when you're doing it, you know, at the same time, you know, don't be afraid to ask people's advice. Don't be afraid to be open to criticism. You know, if someone took the time to criticize you, if you sent a mix or a solo to somebody, and they criticized you and constructively, they said, look, I don't think this is nice, and your rhythm is bad, whatever it may be, generally that comes from love. 99% of the time, if I took the time to actually listen critically, to critically listen to something that someone has sent me, it means I cared enough to do it. If I just said it was nice, it means that I didn't care enough to actually think, you know, because yeah, it's just how it is. And so don't be afraid of rejection. Don't be afraid of someone saying something that you don't agree with, because if someone took the time to do it, that's the point in growth. And in that creation, allow also for people to criticize you constructively. Find those people that are different to you. Find those people that will tell the truth, you know. And then in that creation there'll be growth too. And a really important part outside of that is fun. You know, besides resting, I would go and play golf and I have fun. But there's also time, say, for family, whatever fun means to you, if it's going on a holiday or whatever it may be, going to the movies, you know, to find that thing that makes you happy that isn't music, that you can do to bring joy to your life. Because what I found is that music almost never has a moment of a goal. For instance, in soccer, there's a goal, and there's a successful moment. You have a goal, you get more goals than the other team, you win, and there's a sense of achievement. In music, there's not really that sensation. And if we rely on those sensations in music, we're going to struggle, because we're going to be relying on ourselves to play well. And that's a really bad recipe, because then you're looking at your self-worth being attached to your music and your playing, which is going to cause ego problems. It's going to cause a whole lot of issues. And what I found with golf is I would practice golf, I'd get better, I made a birdie, or I'd play a beautiful shot in the wind and I managed to control the ball nicely. There's that sense of achievement which I would never really feel in music. Music has a high, and it's an amazing thing that we get to experience and like Marcus said, it's a gift that we have, um, to be able to play music, but we shouldn't be relying on it for pats on the back and for um, sort of self-worth. And what I found was I like to find my self-worth in other things, like being a good human being, and that's a whole other kettle of fish. But that's how I developed myself and allowed myself to detach myself from music, that I'm not defined as a human being, I mean as a musician, but as a human being, and that I love music and that I need to play music, and it's really important, and I have a lot of fun with music, but I can also have fun outside of that, that I can go to a bar and not talk about music. um, it doesn't happen often though. But find fun in other things, whether it's people, whether it's activities, whether it's going for a walk, whatever it is. It's so important. Sometimes we sit in our rooms, we lock ourselves up for too long, and then we end up resenting music later on because we weren't able to balance life. And this is all about seasons and understanding and identifying where we are. And one should not feel bad for having fun. One obviously needs to be disciplined enough to not always chase fun, because we need to categorize it and balance it. So if you're going out every single weekend and partying, it's not going to be very productive for your music. But one needs to rest regularly. I try and rest 1 day a week. Doesn't always happen, but that's my goal. And I try and do my fun, um, at least once or twice a month. Like I say, it doesn't always happen, but I try to keep it in balance, but also identifying the season I'm in. So there are seasons where I don't get to exercise as much as I'd like to, but I understand I'm in a different season to my fitness season. And these things go around. There's times when I do very little music and I focus mostly on activities and life and family and fitness and fun. And that is what allows me to detach myself. And what I find is that I've been more creative now than I've ever been before in my life, because of identifying my seasons. And so when I'm in this season, I don't feel bad for not being in a different season. And it's been a great learning point for me. And I would really encourage you to sit back daily and just think, just take a breather, and just meditate on the day. Think about what you've done. Think about what you've achieved. Think about what you want to do, and then take off some pressure and say, where am I right now? Am I growing? Am I stagnating in my growth? Am I staying in my growth season because I'm scared of moving out of it? Am I in my creative season because I don't have enough discipline to practice? There's many things, and there is no answer for each person, but you're the only one that can answer it. So sit back and think about it, and try and start looking inside and figuring out where you are, where you want to be, and how to balance life, how to balance the seasons, and how to grow from every experience, how to have fun in every experience, and how to find rest as much as possible.